minutes because there are people waiting. So we're going to start in just a second, and we're going to drop the link for you to join in the chat if you're here, and if not, um, you can watch here or YouTube or Facebook. So I'm going to do that now.
Okay, now that we have those links out, we should be good to get started. I'll bring Kalisa back just so you can see her while I talk. Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for January's Women's Speak Reading. I'm Sarah Ghazal Ali. I'm editor of Palette Poetry, which is a co-sponsor for this wonderful reading series hosted by Kalisa Ray and usually Diamond Ford, who couldn't be here tonight. We've got an incredible lineup, and I won't take up too much time so we can get to the good stuff. But just a tiny little bit about Palette. Palette Poetry is a digital poetry magazine, and we're always open to submissions. We go on a weekly publishing schedule, so there's a new poem every Monday. It moves pretty fast, which is great. And yeah, we're always open for submissions. Submissions are free, and so if you want to be paid for your poems, you should submit to us. And keep an eye out for our next contest, the Emerging Poets Prize, which is going to be judged by the wonderful Safia El Hillo, and that will go up on February 15th. So yeah, just keep an eye out, and that's everything from me. I'll pass it over to your host for the evening, Kalisa Ray.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you to Palette Poetry for hosting and sponsoring once again. Welcome. I'm Kalisa Ray, one of the co-hosts and co-founders of Women of Color Speak. I'm so excited to be here tonight and welcome up these 7 fabulous women and femmes of color. So we're actually going to start with the illustrious, the magnanimous Sakshi Narula, but Sakshi could not be here with us tonight. So Sakshi is going to present her piece via video. Before I share that video, I want to give just a little bit of background about Sakshi. One piece of house rules. It's not really a rule, it's encouraged. Please, although we're using StreamYard, we want you to share your love, your energy, wherever you are. So if you're watching from YouTube, from Facebook, please comment, like, tell us what lines that really resonated with you. If you heard something, please tweet it out, Instagram it out, take pictures, and follow Women of Color Speak, Palette Poetry, or me, Kalisa & Co. online. And without further ado, let me introduce Sakshi. Sakshi Narula is the author of the celebrated poetry collection Love-ish. Born in New Delhi, India, she had since then lived in over 8 cities and 3 countries. Passionate about art and culture, she finds happiness in writing and sketching. With her raw and relatable words, she has managed to gain over 30K followers across Instagram and Twitter for her amazing work. Music, sketching, and cooking are some of her other passions besides poetry that she excels at. She calls the beach and the museum, her happy places. Sakshi currently resides in Muscat Oman with her family and can be found on Twitter and Instagram. And without further ado, let's welcome up Sakshi's piece.
Sakshi Narula. I am a poet from India and I live in a country called Oman, which is in the Middle East. I will be reading a few poems for you from my newest poetry collection, House of Stars and Flowers on Mars. This is a book of love poems, so they're just different shades of love in every poem. So here goes. The first one is called Sinatra Wants to Leave the Earth. As I fuss over how much I have to clean, the birds outside the window still sing. It's been another year. I am still in love with you without you, and life goes on. My neighbor is an obsessive gardener, childless, or perhaps with an empty nest and a dead Mr. Carter. I see her carving the ground to plant hydrangeas as Sinatra sings Fly Me to the Moon in her living room. It's been 20 years of waking up to that song, waking up to her sadness or mine, and the flowers blooming in her garden. It's been another year of this banality. I am still in love with you, without you, and life still goes on. Summer breaks my heart some more each year. I build a scaffolding to paint it red and make it look perfect like June. I set it up on an easel on the front porch, serve it some lemonade, and we watch the trees bend to the wind in the direction of your home. We are in pain, my heart and I. My palms are tired and red like Mars. It's been another year. I am still in love with you, without you, and life still goes on. I am trying to be the adult here. I am trying to let go, but love is a stubborn fuck. Like the grease on an old frying pan. Fuck, I hate cleaning those. And I hate cleaning the windows when the fog disappears and the dust sticks to them. I like them foggy better. It makes me believe in magic in a world full of fools and greenhouse gases. And I am tired of cleaning my heart, bleaching my bones, picking my scabs as they bleed, and holding on to these words at the base of my throat. As Sinatra wants to leave the earth and the hydrangeas bloom in Mrs. Carter's garden, as I paint my heart red like Mars, sip on my lemonade, as the trees sway south and the birds outside still sing, and I fuss over everything, and another year goes by, I am still in love with you, without you, and life still goes on. Life goes on. And I am still. So this was the first piece. I'm going to read you another favorite of mine. So the second one that I'm reading for you today is called 41, a love poem to me. It's a poem I wrote on my 41st birthday last year and is one of my favorites in the book. So here goes. 41. I tear open a song like it's a gift from Lana, Morrison, or Lennon. I dig their hearts out from the graves in their words, soothe the scars, 41 scars on mine, and sing it out loud with a mouthful of wine. Blink once and I was 10, and blink twice and I am 41. 41, I think maybe 10 years or 14 more to go. I bought a box full of watercolors and I haven't learned how to make watercolor paintings yet. I have a book about kitchen gardening and don't know what needs to be planted yet. Blessed kitchen garden, blessed kitchen, blessed garden, blessed home. Yes, I have been blessed with love. Knock the wind out of me, love. My body hurts, soaked to the bone, love. Blessed with a lover, the man of my dreams and angel baby souls, 2 playing in the backyard and 2 in heaven at the end of the rainbow. They grow, they smile, they laugh, they glow, and they keep me alive, away from all the darkness and never let me go. But my nightmares are made of the mountain of dishes in the kitchen's unholy sink. I no friends to cherish, no friends to ring. I turn a blind eye like they don't exist and think about strawberries and tomatillos and rosemary and habaneros, the bath salts and the collagen I need, about the dark chocolate cake, the beautiful shoulder of lamb in the fridge, and the crimson sunset today at 41 at my feet. Yes, I have nowhere to go, nowhere to be. I mute everything. The phone, the world, the unkempt hair, and organic white sheets. For I will not be as young as I am today, as pretty as I am today, as unashamed and unapologetic than I have ever been. I built a home of poems and a kin of all the stars in my heart, a home in the middle of wheat fields, 41 bricks on the fireplace for 41 poets who kept me warm on the nights I wept. What would Bukowski say about my poems, I wonder? Am I a comfortable poet or someone from the street? I write my story like it's everyone's story and everyone's in it. Sonder. 41. Sonder is my favorite word from the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows, from any dictionary ever. 41. I reflect on the triumphs of all my yesterdays and the ones to happen tomorrow. Let me be your woman on love's landscape, the slow burn of a song on a cold night, the blurring bouquet of city lights. Let me fix your ribs like I fixed mine. Life broke us all differently, but broke it did. And so I poet at 41. I send you a verse dipped in the smell of rain on a hot summer day, dipped in love from my brave undying heart and light from 1,000 burning dreams in my eyes. 41. Smug. The coffee and I are so hot. I laugh. I resist. I fight. I switch on the table lamp and write.
Absolutely beautiful, Sakshi. Please give it up for Sakshi. Please leave a comment, a piece of love, a piece of encouragement in the chat. So I just got like 20 pings that people are trying to get into the event. So please spread the word. If folks want to watch with us, please go to Facebook Live or they can go to YouTube Live. They can also go to Palette Poetry's event for this and follow the link there. They can follow me at Kalisa Co on all social media accounts and follow the links in my bios as well. I love that we've got so much love and so much response happening tonight. I am super excited to welcome up this next poet because she's a dear friend of mine. And if you follow her on social media, you'll understand just how loving and infectious and just community minded she is. Elizabeth M. Castillo is a British Mauritian poet, writer, indie press promoter, and a 2-time Pushcart Prize nominee. She lives in Paris with her family and 2 cats, where she writes a variety of different things in a variety of different languages and under a variety of pen names. In her writing, Elizabeth explores the different countries and cultures she grew up with, as well as themes of race and ethnicity, motherhood, womanhood, language, love, loss, and grief. Her writing has been featured in publications and anthologies in the UK, US, Australia, Mexico, and the Middle East. Her bilingual debut collection, Cajoncito, Poems on Love Lost y Otros Locuras, is for sale on Amazon now. You can connect with her at EMC Writes Poetry on Instagram and Twitter. Now, welcome up, Elizabeth.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Kalisa, for that amazing introduction. And I just have to add that when I first started publishing my poetry about a year or so ago, I remember following Kalisa and I think it was Gaia Rajan, who also founded Women of Color Walk Speak. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, one day I really want to be on that. And so I am so excited to be here tonight. I will be reading tonight poems from my debut collection, Cajoncito, which is available on Amazon and actually at half price for the month of January. So for 2 more days, get them while they're hot. I'm going to start off by reading a poem that actually I wrote as a little bit of a joke to myself, but has turned out being one of the more popular poems from this collection. It's called Can I Send You My Poems? Can I send you my poems? Can I bind these words together with the finest filament of my hair? Can I set the spine with the viscosity of my affection? Can I wrap this humble offering in eggshell and earth so that when they make their way to you, new things, green things, might sprout up in between each whispered word? Can I etch that destination across my ribcage, right there, where the wound you gave me almost bled out? Can I slice it open, press you inside, and sew it back up with gauze and spider silk? Hold my breath so you can't escape. Can I tear myself down to only skin, steal into the forest under the cover of night, launch myself from the tallest canopy? Can I hang, suspended on the wind, clamber into the undercarriage, nestle myself between the blades of the whirring motors, fall asleep, head resting against the lull of this strong and steady machine? Feel the 100 tons of thrust cradled beneath me? Can I throw my entire self into the welcome embrace of the ocean? Can I cleave my way breathless across the seas? Can I scale the mountains erected defiantly between us, fight, bare-knuckled, the beasts that live at altitude? Can I crush their venomous, bottom-dwelling brothers beneath my heel? Can I harness the finest desert stallion, ride him, barebacked and broken, into the city against the wind? Can I climb the trellis of your castle, slip in silently through the window of your room? Can I curl myself around your sleeping body, weave my limbs and yours into a divine tangle, rest my head in your neck's crook? Can I bury myself beneath you, absorb myself into the sweat and skin? Can I burrow deep into your teeth's enamel, stretch myself along the slant of your nose? Can I wrap your thinning hair around me, shrink into the hollow at your clavicles, navigate the tunnels of your bloodline from heart to wrist? Can I find my home in the junction of the veins that gather there, dissolve myself into the lifeblood, disappear into that glorious red? Or can I just send you some of my poems instead? Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed that. So that's the first poem from Cajoncito called Can I Send You My Poems? I'd like to read you something that's a little bit of a change of tone here, but this book is poems on love, loss, y otras locuras, which is other madness. So it's a mix, obviously, of every sort of emotion, really. So now we're going to go on to something a little bit more serious. And I should mention maybe a trigger warning for miscarriage and baby loss. If you're sensitive to that, then don't listen to this poem. This is called Context. I did nothing wrong, and death came for half my family, 3 mothers and a friend. I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong, and I lost my baby on the bathroom floor. Lost half my mind in the hospital waiting room. I did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong, and I lost you. I lost you. Strange, complicated hurt. An accumulation of all the losses that came before, just trying to protect you. I did nothing wrong. I know my life is golden. I know, with help, I've worked so hard. I don't know how to scrub the watermark from my ankles, how to stop the ends of me retracting, how to feel half of a thing, politely decline the other half, how to hold myself in place. I did nothing wrong. How not to bleed. Every circumstance. All over the floor. I did nothing wrong. That was context. Now I'd like to read a poem that is a personal favorite of mine from my collection. It's called Gathering My Children to Me. A lot of my poems are very raw in the sense that they're not perhaps very formal, very literary in any sense, but I think that they're very truthful, and I love this poem because of its truth. I'll just open it on here, it's easier to read. Gathering my children to me. Come on, unbending sense of justice. Come on, bitter sting of betrayal. Come on, poetic sensibility. You're needed elsewhere. We're leaving. Explanations, justification, reasons. Hold each other's hands now. Settle down. Come on, fresh tears spilled into clean laundry. Come, those few thrilling seconds I hold myself underwater in the bath. Come, sweet, bewitching intensity. Step this way, total disregard for consequence. Come pride, come faith, come bloody scuffed up knees. It's time to go. We've long outstayed our welcome. Come here, crippling need to please. Come on, hurry up, food intolerance and chronic pain. Come along now, depression. Out you get, stretch your legs a little. Come on now, breath caught in my chest that could be asthma, but I'm pretty sure is regret. Come here, sensitive skin, eclectic Spotify playlist. Come back here right now, childhood obsession with dinosaurs. Get down from there, incorruptible self-assurance. Come procrastination, I'm not going to say it twice. Come self-flagellation. Come increasingly perpetual anxiety. Come wit, come dry absurdist humor. Yes, you can sit right up here by me. Come on over here, darkest of dark clouds. I've made enough room for you in the sky. Come now, ambition, you wait your turn. Come, easy forgiveness, come on, too many reasons why. Get back here, lust, you have done enough. Settle down, bruised and vindictive pride. Let's go, come on now, we're leaving. We can't stay a minute longer. Watch out for oncoming traffic, that's it. Hope against all odds, right, then left, then right again. Come on now, no time, no reason, no chance to say goodbye. We should have been long gone by now. Thank you very much. I love that poem because it's like a lot of my poems are either multilingual, either about my vagina, or either fairly self-deprecating. Sometimes the best are all three, but I won't be reading those today because they're not from this collection. I'm not sure how I'm doing for time, but I'm just going to read one more. Cajoncito is a bilingual collection, English and Spanish. Spanish is my fourth language, so it's really a labor of love. Every single poem is either multilingual in itself or has a translation into the other language. So I think it's very accessible in terms of books. And so if you like that kind of thing, please go and get yourself a copy. If you don't, then please, get a copy and send it to someone you don't like. This last poem is multilingual. And it's an after poem written based on E.E. Cummings's I Carry Your Heart With Me, which is one of my favorite love poems ever. So it has a bit of Spanish in it. It's called Yo vivo en tu corazón. Yo vivo en tu corazón. I swam up through the arteries, painted its walls en mis colores, lined el suelo with my plants. Puse una canción que no tiene letra. Fought the battle. That's already been won. Watch the slow, steady pace of the snail. Dejé el amanecer partir en dos, the horizon. Es una cosa tan chiquita que no sabe nada de razón. Me llevas contigo. Where you go, I go. Me llevas contigo. Yo vivo en tu corazón. Thank you very much. And thank you, Kalisa, and everyone for having me. I would love to connect with you guys on Instagram or on Twitter. I'm EMC Writes Poetry with the at the beginning, obviously. So please get in touch. I would love to connect with all of you. Thank you much.
I mean, come on. What do you say about the infectious, the intoxicating Elizabeth Castillo? Give it up, please. Share her. Show her love. Give her a line that you loved and follow her online because I tell you, she's the most encouraging cheerleader you will find. I could watch Elizabeth all day, but alas, we don't have all the time in the world. So we're going to keep that fire moving to Jessica Nirvana Ram. Jessica Nirvana Ram is an Indo-Guyanese MFA candidate at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. She is an equal parts poet and essayist, while occasionally moonlighting as a fiction writer. Aren't we all, Jessica? Her work appears in Glass Poetry, a poetry journal, Hayden Sperry Review, and the Hellebore Press, with work forthcoming in Honey Literary. Jessica is also a poetry reader at OK Donkey magazine. You can find her tweets about teaching, writing, and all other life things at Jessica Nirvana Poet. Give it up for Jessica Nirvana Ram.
Thank you so much, Kalisa. And thank you to Palette also for just organizing this. You guys are fabulous, and I'm so blessed to be a part of it today. So I have 4 poems for you from the collection that I'm currently working on. Yeah, so we'll get into it. Okay. This first one is Mosaic after Aja Monet. Grandma's hands were an oiled comb through my black hair, a twist of the wrist to curl the ends. They were the Pointer Broom's coconut branches dusting hardwood, and baby powder on my brother's behind. Her hands were a belna pressing dough into rounds, clapped roti over the kitchen sink, spoons of dal over white rice, shaky handwriting, a slow looped R, mouthing uncertain Hindi alongside Bollywood subtitles. Her hands were palms pressed together, hummed mantras, agarbatti circling murtis. Grandma's hands kneaded skin and carried sleeping bodies. They were spare dollars for churros and Italian ice, Rite Aid gum and a bucket of KFC. Her hands were my hands as I taught myself to pray again in the quiet of my apartment. And this next one is I am unfit to raise daughters. I've always wanted children. At first, sons. Sons are less likely to inherit my mouth, stuffed full of cotton balls, slicked with gasoline, tongue clipped and hung on a clothesline, waiting for a matchstick, a hose, a body to slip back into. I thought, with sons, I could clad them in an armor built of my bones, tie their wrists with yagnopavitam woven from veins, sew the Gayatri mantra onto the roof of their mouths. Maybe I believed I could raise honeysuckle sons with sugarcane limbs. Their sweat would taste like rosewater and jasmine, their blood condensed milk and clove. With sons, I hoped I could rest easy, because with daughters, I will come undone, split at the spine. Daughters will inherit the fire I've always swallowed, kept tamed in the pit of my belly. They will, like Kali Ma, emerge from my forehead as my wrath, bathed in blood, striped red and brown, crimson glistening under moonlight, tiger skin, a mark of their mother. I know sculpting shields is a waste of time, so I will carve spears from clavicle, crown them with a wreath of cervical vertebrae. My daughters will wear a garland of my lungs, strung together with braided strands of dark hair. I cannot raise them to be like me, to be like a mother whose hands shake like hummingbird wings, a blur of body undeserving of holding life like theirs. Let me offer them instead chambers of my heart, sliced into thirds, laid atop red hibiscus and lentils. If they press into tender muscle, their fingers will stain with me. I suppose I fear daughters because I am an unsteady stack of organs, masquerading as lethal weapon, unrelenting fury, when really I am nothing but paper and ink, flammable and temporary, a vessel to bring them into this world who, upon giving birth, may very well shudder and shatter into ash. And this next one, I'm reading 2 poems from a color series that I've been working on lately, where I just kind of write associatively about color. So this is my red poem, Crimson Girl. I want red to be ruby and roses and royalty, chiltepin peppers and my aunties, all their full-bellied laughter, wrinkled hands and darkened bindis. I want my wedding sari, my sindured scalp. Oh, I've dreamt of it. Scarlet woven with gold, crimson girl swathed in promises. But then I say girl and become stoplight. Cherry cheeks smeared and sunken, sharpened acrylic severing burgundy skin. I burrow into myself again, tearing out veins like loose wiring. I am not a girl here. I am a massacre. My red is swallowed violence, cranberry vodka vomit, the lights in the bar bathroom, how they turned my palms into crime scenes. I am splitting my heart, gouging it open like my grandfather's tomatoes, pressing thumbs into its middle, raw muscle turned pomegranate. The space in between my breasts becomes furnace, untamed flames like untrained hands, and my throat goes blood moon, tongue red velvet. Why is it I am always the one coming apart? And then this last poem is originally my green poem, so you might see notes of that, but it's titled In Lieu of a Poem. Sauteed cabbage over corned lamb, how it reminds me of my mother and marries well over rice. Spinach shrunken and soaked with garlic, the way my grandmother likes it. Brussels sprouts bursting with balsamic, broccoli heads splitting like lumber beneath my knife, brushed with olive oil, soaked in heavy cream. Green onions clipped with scissors over tom yum. Roasted asparagus, resting beside fillets of salmon. Julienne green peppers for fajitas, the recipe from my ex, the only one he knew and I kept. The smell of rosemary and patchouli, how it reminds me of love, not his. Just love, familiar warmth. French gardens, lemon verbena leaves in water, bouquet garni in the coq au vin, fresh pesto ground in pestle and mortar, all heavy pressure and pocketed laughter. Never jealousy, no, not that. Only girlhood and the feeling of stretching, a crown of vines, or the mountainsides in Provence or Pennsylvania, New York or North Carolina. Think roots. Think Guyana's flag, grandfather's green thumb and pistachio-pocked palms, the $5 bill framed above the doorway in our first home, a gift from my uncle to my mother, a wish of wealth and prosperity, how it hung there until we moved, a stuttering film reel, wide arms, stilled smiles, something holy. Thank you all so much.
I mean, we've got stage presence, we've got fire, we've got cute kittens in the background. What else do you want from us, people? We've got baddies. I mean, come on. Isn't she fabulous? Give it up for Jessica Nirvana Ram. Absolutely lovely. We are going to just keep that fire blazing. I do want to give a little bit of a quotable because that one hit me right in my gut. How come I'm always the one left falling apart? I felt that, sis. I felt it. All right. So next we're going to welcome up Serena Zhao. Serena Zhao is a first-year undergraduate at Columbia University. She has been recognized by the National Young Arts Foundation, the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, the U.S. Presidential Scholars Program, and the Poetry Society of the United Kingdom, among others. Her work appears or is forthcoming in The Rumpus, Cosmonauts Avenue, AAWW, The Margins, Wildness, Palette Poetry, and elsewhere. Give it up for Serena.
Um, Thank you so much, Kalisa, for the introduction. It is such an honor to be here in this wonderful space with so many amazing women of color who are also brilliant creatives. Um, the first poem that I will be reading is from Palette. It was the recipient of the third place award for the Emerging Poets contest last year, and I'm so eternally grateful to Palette for giving it a home. It's called The Present of Poetry, after The End of Poetry by Ada Limon. Because we are the sum of our taxable metaphors for martyr, in these economies of want, we wash away our soot stains, hang the softness of our limbs on laundry lines. So we say enough of this gold standard for God, the most ruthless currency of grief. There is never enough bleach to taint our country clean, only enough body politics to call ourselves a nation. Only ever headlines bleary with the news that our corpse count is not enough. Only the distance between lovely and lonely, a catechesis contouring our obituaries with enough tragedies and travesties to fill our last days with debt. Not enough human left in these towering flights whose calcium and circuitry will last longer than our legacies will. Never enough of nuclear families and their metastasis of meat. How even in this cacophony of solitude, we are still classifying mothers as mere vessels for their unborn children. Never enough asking how much is too much, because even everything and more is not enough. Because I need to touch you, except I can't now. But 500 bloodlines into the future, I want to anyway. And maybe that will be enough. And the next poem that I will be reading is called Migration with Mid-Autumn Moon. And it's written in homage to some really wonderful, also young women of color poets who've inspired me over the years. Migration with Mid-Autumn Moon. After Kaiming Chang, Carissa Chen, Christina Im, and Vivian Song. In the latest creation myth, we stitch lifelines into the moon's sunken bays, bodies unfurled at half-mast. I'm learning there are 10,000 ways to say I'm sorry, and all of them begin with our limbs knotted into nooses, mouths rifled into morning suns. Underneath this empire of butcher and blood, we watch civilizations crumble, marble dust caking our flightless wings, hands that caught light now strewn in ribbons, caged birds gnawing away our bone breaths, the screen burnished into copper and rust. In every history, man is synonymous with murder, and we are the lucky ones. You tell me creation is only a myth manufactured by the living, godless in the hearts of the young. Look closer, the shoreline thinning in borders, babies bottlenecked by the stories we fed them. Of all the fairy tales you tell me, I will write my daughter the one fated from uncharted migrations, days drowned in gasoline, the skyline intercepted by a mother's prayers. I will teach her to mistake innocence for incense, how she will only burn what she cannot have, how to live in this country of sun-splashed stars is to enemy the dead and still dying, how we will leave our footprints on the moon and still apologize to the dirt. And finally, this last poem that I will be reading is one of my favorite poems that I've ever written, and it's currently published in the Rumpus. It's called Obad with River Styx. On summer mornings, we crucify ourselves in the tomb of our bed, the white linen sheets draped like a shroud. We wake to a dawn, blooming and bruising our skin into ash, the lazy hymn of light warming our nightmares into miracle mirth. This is how I was taught to see our sun, a cloak of hydrogen and helium stitched by 1,000 threads of fatality. Mama always told me that everything begins in the east, where the sunlight rises from the void in between silted windows and dies on the beads of silver dream catchers knotted in the west. If what she claims is true, then even death can begin in the east, its arms heavy with armored embrace, lips smooth with sedative. Once I watched a bird swallow another bird whole, beak piercing like arrow, and wondered when moonlight would lay the body to rest, forgive the crumpled interior of willing a sin unto itself. All this is to ask how easily we fracture, never belonging to the shadows we cast in our wake. We learn too often how to trade aching for longing for survival, rinsing our names in the earliest skies. This morning, a praiseworthy aching, this life longing. In this season of loss, survival is funeral, sleeping in stillness. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to
Yes.
Kalisa
Oh
and
my
to Pal
goodness.
Poetry.
Thank you, Serena. Thank you so much. Absolutely fabulous. I just want to give another quotable. I will teach her to mistake innocence for incense, so she will only burn what she cannot have. Absolutely phenomenal. We're going to keep it going and welcome up Adrienne Chung. Adrienne Chung is a Wisconsin Institute of Creative Writing Fellow. Her writing has appeared in the Yale Review, Joyland, Recliner Magazine, and has been supported by the Bread Loaf Writers Conference. Give it up for Adrienne Chung.
Hi, everyone. I'm broadcasting in from Madison, Wisconsin, Dairyland, USA. And I'll be reading one poem called Bardo Baby. And for those of you who aren't familiar, Bardo is a Tibetan word describing the transitional time and space from one life to the next, after birth and after death and before birth. And it's more than just like a liminal space. It's like 49 days of hellish hallucinations. All right, Bardo Baby. I've talked to trees, had long-winded conversations about thrownness with Japanese maples, talked to redwoods about hydration, macronutrients, love languages, relatives down south, how some trees miss me when I'm gone, and some trees shiver like a spineless creature digmatized, and some trees glitter in the dark, leaves like gold sequins, silver sequins, red sequins, orange sequins. Once I swiped left on a man who wrote, "I love roller coaster, fresh squished orange juice." I was youngish then, eyes unopened to the world's hidden glam. 8 years later, I lie in bed fantasizing about what he didn't list, how he likes his martini, his hand job, his pizza, the permutation of his linens, how he'd misspell strudel, Nietzsche, Mississippi, Klingon, onomatopoeia, how he might have loved me, but it was more difficult that year to hear I love you than to say it, words meeting like the angry knobs of my grandmother's massage chair where she sat every night, upright as a handsome older woman that I cannot stop myself from becoming. It isn't that I'm mad about being flat-chested, more like gracefully annoyed with the procedure of mammograms, my small breasts flattened like paninis every January, the technician groping my chest with the torque of a bleary-eyed, open-mouthed lover who rolls over after the small fireworks of anonymous sex, while at night I dream on Egyptian cotton of dead elephants suspended like dried flowers from the ceiling of my mother's bedroom. My Jungian analyst says that a part of my heart is dead, and this hurts me. I think about a colorless sky, and this calms me until I look out the window where a blue curtain hangs spherical from the firmament. Why am I so scared of demons and loud noises of my reflection in the mirror? Why am I every age at once, each part of my body frozen in a different time? Baby face, grandma hands, toddler butt, teeny tits. I didn't know that my mother had 36 DDs when I sat alone in the waiting room, popping reams of bubble wrap, while a radiation machine zapped her breasts. That year I was 6 and loved dolls with a selfless desire, the way dogs unconditionally without interiority, the way I loved my mother unconditionally without interiority. She tried to lose me, but each time I found her. One second I was fingering the hairy back of a peach, and the next she was gone. The cloud of her absence, a ghostly imprint between the jars of soy sauce and peanut oil, the branded void into which my heart would drop when I realized she was gone. Each time I was ready to end my little life, to follow her into whatever darkness of her condemnation. The first time I heard my mother called a psychopath was like a hit of cocaine, a flash of white, a reel of film where every character from every life I've ever lived rushes back into the brain, packing the red carpet of memory's ballroom into which I emerge, a debutante, twirling down the coiled staircase with the garish ceremony of childbirth. "Hello, here I am," I say, my teeth smeared with the lurid pink lipstick in 1985. I was born in November, a Valentine baby, Scorpio monstrosity, Chinese finger trap, overweight firstborn, hirsute mandarin, small-mouthed delicacy, Hunan princess, sentient bratz doll, boba dowager, purebred power bottom, moon-faced cowgirl, doomed to lie, doomed to cheat, doomed to steal, doomed to die. I think I'm in love again with the only man who ever loved me. He was named for a saint, first of the apostles. I couldn't imagine ever loving him again, but suddenly I found God, and in him I saw something old, something new, something borrowed, something once under a bright blue sky she left me. I counted gummy bears in the clouds, sang Disney songs to myself, until the white stitch screeched and pulled apart, begat a bloody black dome, pulsing. I cried to the trees, but they couldn't help me, so I sang to the trees, but they couldn't hear me, the straps of the car seat sustaining my little body like the tubes of a ventilator. Does something remain ill-fated if it has already met its fate? Does the sickness abandon course, or does it live on like a phantom limb, atmospheric, like a virus on a ghost ship where immortality is less a paradise than a human zoo? Again, I wake up as if there were no possibility of dying. Again, I scroll through political news in bed, open my email, where still shelved beneath his name in GChat are his final words, "I can't sleep." Again, I dress myself, feed myself, carve sex appeal into my face, so that when a beautiful man looks at me, my skull floods with the histrionic strings of Vivaldi like a drug, yet still I'm afraid of looking behind me, still I'm afraid of closing my eyes, still I'm afraid of the past, present, and future, but she was always there 100 times, as ready to die 1,000 times. Each time she saved me, the baker's dozen million times. An angel, ghostlit fantasy, appearing in the final dark. Thank you.
We've got honesty, we've got vulnerability, and I'm loving it. Thank you so much, Adrienne. It's been a pleasure hearing you read. And I know we're going to get more of that honesty and vulnerability from our next reader. It's a pleasure and a delight to welcome up Marissa Davis. Marissa Davis is a poet and translator from Paducah, Kentucky, now residing in Brooklyn. Her poetry has appeared in Poem a Day, Rattle, West Branch, Mississippi Review, Best New Poets, and England Review, Mid-American Review, The Common Rhino, American Chordata, The Offing, among others. Her chapbook, My Name and Other Languages, I Am Learning How to Speak, published by Hala Ala Books in 2020, was selected by the Danez Smith for Cave Canem's 2019 Chapbook Prize. Davis holds an MFA from New York University, and you can find her at marissadavis.com. Give it up for Marissa.
Hi, thank you so much, Kalisa, for hosting and for inviting me along. And thank you also to Palette as a whole for creating this beautiful event. It's been such an absolute joy to listen to everyone's readings. I'm going to read 2 poems tonight, both of which are part of a related series I'm working on, titled Ecclesiastes, in which is kind of a set of persona poems off from forces of nature. So the first one I'm going to read is called Ecclesiastes New Madrid Fault, which the New Madrid Fault being a fault line in the American Midwest and kind of southeast in the region, near the region that I'm from, which is Western Kentucky. So Ecclesiastes New Madrid Fault. Patience. I am hardly parted lips, still your beating wings. I am hardly a god that is mostly a maw made to sing, made to break like a runaway, clap like a vulture's heart. You believe me because you've dreamed it like a vision. Let it sweat you awake, scissor clip the sweet off night. Your near private apocalypse, your homeland errant. Little beasting on a planet's hulk, single chord to an orchestral catastrophe. Last time, I knotted River up and snipped her like slim ribbon. I worried Moonwane into a dark map to anoint Tecumseh. I witched the silt to boil, crushed quartz down to shallow lightning, crowned myself an emergence in reverse, a widened rewinding. Brute paradox I challenge, make a Baptist of gravity, crack stone like an ice sheet, waft the occult perfume of groundwater, ring the fields to warp and fissure, gape to a gospel of earth as a verbose blade, an ambiguous mallet. Calyx for a cicatrix, I'd eat you with a mouth of scar tissue. My breath a low candle for lands unforgetting. Isn't remembering a life's most essential art? Thick trouble and a yoke for grief, and some hard illumination. I recollect every force that ripples through me. I know where it goes and what fine thing builds from it. I know exactly how knowing is a woe, how knowing makes me unconquerable, a cavernous shout. Sumptuous to be a certainty just past the limits of certainty. No, you will not escape. Best just to roll the flickering bones, best not to sleep. Oh, flesh of my flesh, I promise. Ruination can be so tender. Think of my coming as a sign or a terrible chance. And the next one I'm going to read is called Ecclesiastes' Storm. 1. We have always worn the end of a world as a skin, and that same world's beginning. Here, death in the form of a filament of flame, as a thread of the substance of life. Here, water, which understands neither demise nor origin, leaks as from a beast's breast, becoming now the touch making harps of the tender leaves backs, now a devourer of limestone, a lunatic rot. Earth seeds all destiny but our conjugations, diligent as dog stars, kindling each into the other's cause and shelter, food and flesh, a skein of motions immune to purity, like the moon's bronze slippage, like an animal's blood-hot rhapsody of organs. Providence is a slate stone we write, rewrite. Rehashed caverns, and the scattering of seedlings, and the coastline's illustration, and the elder trees pulled up by unfathomable leviathan roots. Ours is a permissible pandemonium, a violence sanctified, a palmful of fury, a palmful of manna. The line is drawn at the question of will. The line is drawn by the impossibility of severance. 2. The impossibility of severance, we would have said, but on its belly crawls a novel world. There are children of Adam, and there are children of Eve, and there are children of only the tree, which bore fruit whose color was a libation, like a pouring of blood that in falling caught voice and could sing the name of God, that tree which more than anything else had God in it. And that was the danger. Not that the elements would mix, but that only one knew its nature, so that the other, under the black weight of this knowledge, would have to labor to become it, and if it couldn't, then consent to break. And it couldn't. And thus began the age of appetite. The injustice is that we are altered too in the unsheltering. The songbirds have also learned to fear us, and the waters are given more than their memories can bear. We mean we give them more. We torment, an accident, we swear. Having never asked to be the hammer, slow forged by a trial of human hands, it was shoved down our throat, tasting of quicklime. More power than was ours to take. In this realm, where each part comprehends its purpose and relation, there is no true sin but division, but to subvert the primeval balance. And there is no hell but to watch the self becoming a sudden nucleus of crisis. We once were a shifter of worlds, merely that, even in our occasional anger, and now what comes from us? There is the tower. There is the lightning striking like 1,000 dissonant tongues. Thank you.
Absolutely gorgeous. Give it up for Marissa Davis one more time. We've got a gorgeous quotable that hit me. How knowing makes me unconquerable. If that's not a word, I don't know what is. Y'all, we have actually reached our final poet. So tell a friend, tell a cousin, tell a sister, tell a brother, tell somebody that they need to hurry up and tune in, because if not, they're going to miss it. But you know the good news? They can tune back in and watch this anytime on Facebook or YouTube with the link. So we're going to put that in the chat. We're going to share it widely. We hope that you run to social media and share it as well so people can see these powerhouses. We're going to welcome our final poet. Ursula Villarreal Mora is the author of Math for the Self-Crippling, selected by Zinzi Clemens as the Gold Line Press Fiction Contest winner. A graduate of Middlebury College, she received an MFA from Sarah Lawrence College and was a Bona Voices Fellow. Her stories, essays, and reviews have appeared in numerous magazines, including Tin House, Catapult, Prairie Schooner, Midnight Breakfast, Washington Square Story, Biddington Review, Wigleaf, Top 50, Gold Coast, among others. She contributed to Forward 21st Century Flash Fiction, an anthology by writers of color. She won the Cut Bake Pin Big Fish Flash Fiction Prose Poetry Contest. Her writing has been nominated for the Best of the Net, Best Small Fictions, a Pushcart Prize, and long listed for Best American Short Stories 2015. Come on, accolades. Give it up for Ursula.
Hi, thank you for that introduction. I want to thank, before I get started, Women of Color Speak. Thank you for having me, Kalisa, for inviting me, and Palette Poetry. And I have to say, everyone is just so insanely talented. I've been so inspired by the other readers. So I am the author of a flash fiction collection called Math for the Self-Crippling that's going to be out in March. It is an interlinked flash collection that examines Chicana imagination and strife in San Antonio in the 1990s. So I'm going to be reading two pieces that take place in the 90s, and then I'm going to be reading a piece of flash that is later in the protagonist's life. So the first piece is called Blood Paisley's 1990. Do you remember when drive-by shootings were an epidemic in San Antonio? When in middle school, every morning you'd greet your gaggle of friends by saying, "You survived the bullets, you nasty gangbangers." And they replied with quips like, "Yeah, I'm thug like that." Or, "I was wearing my Crips colors, fool." Only you were all 12-year-old private school girls, scared by the local nightly news, sick by the body counts in the newspaper headlines. Some of you were Mexican American, some of you were white. All of you were equally fascinated by your uncivilized city as you were by your newfound period blood. Whenever an errant blood paisley stained a skirt or gym shorts, the group issued a warning to the victim. "Vato, you've been shot near the buttocks. Get help." Gangs were the rage, initiations were never ending, and you were held hostage in the prime of puberty. This was before you began describing hip hop as iambic, before you seriously considered the idea of leaving San Antonio, years before you developed your insulated New England daydream. The prospect of staying in your bloody city, well, that was a chalk outline you could draw in your sleep. The next piece is called Sad Girl 1992, so just a couple years later, same protagonist. The very first time your parents allow you to go out by yourself, two cholas almost kick your ass. You have agreed to meet a boy for a matinee. The two of you see Chaplin in black and white, share a tub of popcorn, and kiss in the dark. The boy's face is crusted with infected pimples, but you're willing to close your eyes because being independent for half a day is a victory. After the film, you part ways with your date and exit the mall. Your parents instructed you to wait at the bus stop bench, so you sit, squinting under the sun when a fellow Chicana appears. Her hands are deep in the pockets of khakis that she paired with a button-down white polo and black Converse sneakers. She's wearing her school uniform, you figure, on the weekend? Her obvious red lipstick and bandana signal to you that in fact you are face to face with a chola. Her exhalations enter your lungs and you almost choke. She side-eyes you before saying, "You see my friend over there?" In a McDonald's parking lot, a dozen feet away, a husky chola flicks 2 switchblades while glaring at you. Every cell in your body dilates. She thinks you were looking at her funny, the first chola says. Your initial fear is your teeth, but they may jump you in unison and razor blade your face. Years ago, you naively assumed you'd escape the barrio, but the barrio will return to find you. It is inconsequential now that you attend a private school on a merit scholarship. Nah, you insist. I wasn't looking at nobody. Your use of a double negative is a deliberate type of Hail Mary. You sure, sad girl? The bully says, tilting her head. You nod. The cholas exchange a glance, a synchronicity you will remember forever. This gesture means you get to keep your original face, that your dentist will never be part of this equation. It will haunt you that you were chosen and spared at random. When you finally escape into your New England college dream, you'll regard the memory of that afternoon like a fossil, examining its vertebrae under a microscope. For your 20th birthday, you'll treat yourself to a 14-karat gold nameplate necklace, oversized gold bamboo hoops, and dragon blood lipstick. From the neck up, you'll pattern yourself after your tormentors, thrilled by your transformation and struck by how very long it's been since you were a sad girl. And then the last piece is called Effigies of Ourselves, and our narrator is now older, she's married, and maybe some people in the audience can relate to this one. Effigies of Ourselves. I say let's do it. You say you have to smoke first. You go outside with your pack of cigarettes and lighter. I get comfortable on the couch and begin reading a short story. You come back inside and say you're ready. I hold up a hand and say 5 more minutes. You say you'll shower in the meantime. Down the hallway you sulk. The water jerks on and I finish the story with time to kill. I wash a few plates sitting in the sink, a fork, a knife. You walk into the kitchen with wet hair, faded boxers, bare feet, and that orphan frown. Okay, I say, I'll be right there. When I meet you in the bedroom, you're watching stand-up comedy on TV. Now, I ask? 3 minutes, 3 minutes, you cackle with cruel laughter. This is how we build resentments. This is why I don't even want to touch you. When you're finally ready, I'm so fed up with the wait, your sulking, our excuses. I'm ready to build a bonfire of your cigarettes. Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much, Ursula. It was a joy and pleasure to finally hear you read. I've been a fan of yours for so long, and thank you for gracing us with your presence tonight. That's it, friends. That's all. Please, please make sure you celebrate these authors, support them, go get their books, look at their published writing, find out how you can support them in other ways. Please follow them on social media. And go to their websites and just check out what they're doing. Find out when their next reading is, when their next tour date. All these poets are fabulous. Thank you so much to all these readers. It was just an amazing night, and I'm going to keep these words with me. And then, of course, thank you so much to Palette Poetry for sponsoring this event every time. Finally, thank you to you. Give it up for yourselves for being here tonight. We can't do this without you. So just know that we are here every 4th Saturday, unless it's a holiday. We're here every 4th Saturday. So just check out the Palette Poetry page. Follow me at Kalisa & Co. and you can find out what we're doing. You can sign up for our newsletters to check us out next month, because every month is absolutely fabulous. And this was no different. And with that, I bid you adieu. Please go eat, go feed yourself, get some water, and have a wonderful night. Bye, everyone.